Well, welcome back. It's Not Fine Art. We're going to continue on this piece. Going to work a little more on some detail on this barn and then a little bit on the foreground. And so let's get started. I want to start working in some darks, and then we'll start working some lights in. It's just more of the layering system, and it just creates depth. There's depth in the air. There's depth in the in wood. There's depth in the ground, and so you kind of see a lot of this starting to show up, starting to work together. Some of these depths and layers creating depth. So let's go ahead and get started on this. I think I'm going to do just a typical red barn, and you know, those are usually kind of a rusty red. You know, they've oxidized, they're old, and it's the old stuff is more interesting, has some character to it. So let me just put some darks in here. We're going to kind of go back, take a few steps back, and then we'll go forward from that. So okay, let me get some green and red. Got hooker's green here, or sap green works too, either one. And here's some hooker's green. Hooker's is more opaque. Sap is nice. It's Hooker's is more of a green. Sap is a more of an olive green, and it is a little more transparent and not quite as opaque. And so they both have their places. Whoops, over. No problem. Everything's okay. So let me and to oxidize red, to get it looking old and rusty, you just add the complementary color of red is green, and so you can see how those two create a nice dark red there. You could use some black too with the red, but I may do that some of these especially dark areas that you get up under eaves. And so I want to dry brush in some of this. In fact, let me get a close-up. I'll step away and adjust the camera so you can see it a little better. I'll be right back. There we go. I noticed on some of the previous videos, it would have been nice to have some of the detail close up, and we're getting into some more details. So let me. I always try to get some of the have some of the previous layers survive. You know, I don't want to just nuke them out. I want some of those to survive and be part of the depth of that piece. So I'll do that, a lot of that with dry brushing, dry brush blending, and that just means you know, you get it wet with mixing paint, and then take a little off, and you see that see a light touch there, and you can you let some of that survive. And we're getting into a part of it where there is, even though this is impressionistic and somewhat minimal, there's still some detail and that we need to put in. So that's, as you get near the end of a certain element, it just goes slower. You don't want to go super fast. Now, also, so remember I was talking to you about lifting color. See, right now I'm touching it lightly, and some of these low points I'm not getting into that yet. Now I can do that and then lift some, so I could just kind of grind in and get those. I'll show you a couple of different ways. I'll leave some of this the other way, but you see how just completely nuke it with color. Now here's where you can play with it and take a wet rag. I like Bounty paper towels. They hold together good, so I'm endorsing them officially. And I just soak it and then squeeze it out real hard, so it's not dripping. I don't really want it dripping. I just want it good and solidly damp. So you can come back and lift a little on this, and you see how it just creates some really interesting texture in there. And that's where I get a lot of the texture on my pieces. I'm known for layering and getting a nice soft atmospheric piece. And so you've got some of these areas, the low parts are dark, some I've left the low parts light, and so you're creating just kind of a random look. And that's kind of how things age, you know, how nature is. It's random. And now you can also just use the texture of a canvas. It doesn't have to have this. Remember, we textured this with some golden gel a few days ago, the white canvas, before we started to put paint on it. And so you don't have to do that. You could most every canvas has a tooth to it and a you know, you can antique it the same way. It's just smaller, a little bit more uniform highs and lows, but you still can create a texture, and you can bring out the texture on a regular canvas, untextured. So anyway, that's you can kind of see that coming together. Now I'm starting keeping this pretty dark. This is the shadow side. Even the front here, though, I'm going to put some dark in there because I want to build it up lighter, and I might build this up a little lighter too. And I want a little more of this to show through, a little more of this golden color, because it's going to be lighter. So I want a little more of that to show through. So there's two ways to do that. One is just don't paint every bit of it, and another is just wet down your mixture a little bit, and then you know, as you start to go over it, I think you can see how it's just transparent enough where it's not totally nuking out that lower color, that first couple of layers. And even this, you can play around with the lifting too. And right in here, you know, that's probably about where I want it at this point, but just for the sake of example, I'm going to lift some. Now, there's a little timing in that. I don't particularly want to take it off immediately. I want it to start to set up a bit, because if I just immediately take it off, it's just too much comes off. So I let it set up just a minute or two, and get that back in there. So when you've got these heavy textures, there is some grinding you have to do to get the paint in where you want it, and but then there's also areas where you want some of that original gold to show through, like down in this foreground. And we're going to work much more on the foreground, but you see some of the light color popping through as well. And just that, I was telling my students, in fact I was teaching yesterday live at Norman Firehouse Art Center in Norman, Oklahoma, and I just tell them the layering. If you just get that, and again, I know there's different levels of artists that might tune in, and I'm really geared more toward beginning students and maybe a few intermediate. So some of this may be a little primary for some of you, but I love working with beginning students. Really give them some technique where they can get going and enjoy art. And so just the layering, if you begin to just layer your work, you're going to come ahead, take a nice leap forward, and that's something you might not know about. So just this layering. So let's see, let me take, so it just took a little off there. It had begun to set up, and I'm going to do the same thing up here on the roof, and oops, almost I know I'm close up here. I almost dipped into my coffee. Oklahoma City Museum of Art. I used to teach there too. I don't anymore. I had to cut back. Had too many classes. So it's a great museum of art, though, here in Oklahoma City. There's another great one not far, 4 hours, the Crystal Bridges Museum. A shout out to my Arkansas cousins, and up in Bentonville. I've been to that, and you ought to try that. That is a world-class art museum right in the middle of the Arkansas woods. It just, you're going through a little road, looks like nothing, and then it opens up and you see this unbelievably great museum. And thank you to the Walmart people, the Waltons, for putting so much into the arts, especially in Arkansas. Now, I'm in Oklahoma, but we're close neighbors, so what's good for them is what's good for us. Okay, I'm going to put a little of this thin layer up here too. I'm going to go ahead and grind that all the way in, probably. And you see I've wet down this layer, so it's not as dark as that shadow layer. And I just, as I go, I just go by instinct, like just little things like, you know basically what you're trying to do here, but things happen unforeseen. Like there were some little pitted areas here that stayed light in here, and I kind of like that, so I thought, well, instead of grinding that in, I just let it go. So a painting will give you opportunities, and just take them. What was Bob Ross used to say, the happy little accidents, and so he was a character, and we all miss him, but he was right. He would say things in funny ways, but he was right. There are a lot of happy little accidents. And one reason they're happy is you're happy when you're painting. And now there's some frustration in it too, but I work with all sorts of adult ages, but some are more retirees, and yeah, I want to give them something to learn to do and to an activity, and art is something you can do your whole life. And so, okay, now kind of letting this dry as I tell another story about some of my classes, but I think that's dry enough. Even if it's dry to the touch, if you get on it too soon and you want to put some paint, instead of putting paint on, you'll take it off. It'll be kind of sticky, you know. As soon as you hit something wet, hits it on that brush, it'll just come off. And now, if that happens, just let it. You got to let it dry, then go back in and redo it. It's very user friendly. It's not like now I love watercolor, but watercolor's pretty sensitive. It's like your acrylic is like your friend that you can just do anything, say anything to, and they'll just chill out about it. Watercolor's like your friend that's a little neurotic, and you have to be careful what you say to them. And so I love watercolor, but it's a different animal. It's a different breed of cat, as they say. Okay, so we've got it's not bad, and just as it is, I want to clean that up, and I want to maybe lighten this a little more. And but it is, you know, it's a soft impressionistic piece. So let me show you here what I would do. Probably I want to put in a little bit more dark and a little bit more light. I want to broaden the range of value here. This looks pretty good, but I want a little more darkish. That under that eave is always very dark, and looking into the doorway, it's always dark in those old barns. And then I'll put a little more light here. So let's just, I am going to grab some black and just get up under here. And I go nice and slow because I work with beginners, and I believe in, I'm not here to like show off my brilliant talents. I want to teach the art, and not that I have any brilliant talents, but I want to teach the art, and you got to go slow. You can't just run off and leave people, and you have to repeat it. Remember this: repetition makes a reputation. You learn it. And any of my friends out there watching, subscribers that played football, they know what the drills are. You just do them over and over and over, and until you're sick of them, until you want to quit. And that's how you learn. So this is a teaching channel. Like I said, I'm not here to show off anything. Now, and I'm not putting those type of channels down. I think they're great. I love to watch them, and I love to watch fantastic artists. And but that's not what this is geared for. And I've learned this through many years of teaching. You just got to show people, and you got to give them time to keep up. And so we're not going to ever go fast here. We're going to keep it slow. If it's too slow for you, then you're probably on the wrong channel. And but so I'm going to keep it for students. And so I'm just adding a little bit of black over here. I'm keeping this as a close-up, so you're not going to see what I'm doing off to the side. Okay, I got a little bit of black, and so I want to darken that eave. Under those eaves, there's always just a, a really dark line. Now, not all of it, is maybe that dark, but just under that eave. Now, if you get it a little too dark, you can just, come back and put a little bit of this reddish mixture on there. And I always tell my students, because a lot of beginning students, they think you just have to have this tremendous gift and everything you do is right. And I tell them that painting is it's kind of like a fist fight. I mean, you just got to hang in there. And I'll tell them what painting is. It's putting down a few strokes and then figuring out how to fix what you've already messed up, and that's painting. And now there are some areas that go faster than others, obviously, that kind of flow, but there's always something that's going to fight you in a painting. It's just if you're accepting any challenging subject matter, you're going to get into a fight now and then. And okay, so I'm gonna bring out that corner just a little bit. Show that light and shadow. Okay. And I'm debating. That's not as dark as it usually is looking in there, but sometimes reality, you want to change it. You've got artistic license, and even though that would be just black as black, I kind of like that tone right there, or that value. So if I went in let me just go like pure black. If I went in there super black, that kind of takes over the whole painting, and that's not even as black as I could go, but you see how your eye kind of goes to that's the darkest value. And it's nice to have that opening. That's part of the story, but it's not the overall barn and vastness of the landscape is really more the star. So I don't want the eye to go so strong to that area. Just obviously it's going to be a little bit darker, so you can take it off, some of it off. I do like it a little bit darker now that I've done it, and then I can regulate it. Like I can throttle it back, And now you can also take a brush, say a clean brush, and this one broke and I taped it, but if you get a brush like this, these are great for one thing, and that's painting around corners. See, that's pretty good. Okay, you can also, what I was going to say before that nonsense, you can also take a little of this off with a clean brush, maybe when you want a little more delicacy than the rag. Taking it off. If you want a little more, just press a little more. Okay, that's good enough, I think. And this is good. Now I want to let me go to some light on the face of this. Not too light. I just want to pick it up a little bit. And You know, if I want to lighten or darken an area, it doesn't mean you have to just nuke it light or dark the whole thing. You know, make it just look flat and no depth, no texture. Sometimes just a little bit will do the job. So I'm going to grab some a little bit of opaque titanium white. Get some of that out here. Tubes at it. Cleaning up a mess here. Okay. So let me get a brush that fits there. Now I'm going to get some white and red. You know, lighter red. Now, the problem with adding white to colors is sometimes it essentially just drastically changes them. And you know, if you add white to blue, you get light blue. You add white to red, you don't get light red, you get pink. It's a whole different color. And this barn, now you could do it pink, you know, if you like some whimsical color, and you can absolutely do a piece like that. I tend to work toward a more realistic shape and color, and it's just kind of what I like. It's what I've always done. So I don't want some bright hot pink light on there, so I'm going to add some colors. It creates a chain reaction. So this simple little thing I want to do, I'm going to get up with 4 or 5 colors in there. Sometimes that's just how it is, and you spend a lot of time on your palette, not necessarily getting on the canvas, getting it just right. So I'm going to put a little bit of green in there to tone it down a bit, and then also put some yellow that will give it more of that rusty red, you know, more of the rust color that an old oxidized barn is. And I'm looking for my, there it is. Get some yellow here. Okay. Let me see, and you'll see how the yellow will begin to change that. You can add the red back, and you just keep kind of playing with it till you get what you want. I don't need much really. I'm just going to do a few little strokes on there, and then some green. Sometimes these mixing, just to get what you want, you just take the time that you need, and that's one reason I do these a little at a time. I do like watching, you know, the time lapse. Some artists do, but this, like I said, it's more teaching. I'm going to show the nuts and bolts, and you might not have the patience for it, but you can always fast forward the YouTube channel. But this is painting. You go slow on it. You don't just throw it up there. And I want students to know what to expect. This is fighting me. I'm not liking anything I'm getting here. Stay with it. A little more white. That's part of painting. We're not AI yet, are we? Where you just, bam, there's the mixture. Okay, that's enough. Let me show you what I was heading with this. Okay, so I'm taking a little, I don't want to put too much on there. In fact, the more I look at this, I like that, but since I've taken all this time. So just a little bit of opaque on there. And I do like that underpainting gold, but it's a red barn, so I want to go ahead and put a hint of this a red barn with a little bit of light on it. And taking a little artistic license, this is going to be somewhat of a sundown situation, and so these are silhouetted a bit. And you know, if you take a photograph of a backlit, unless you're really a fantastic photographer and know how to set it up, you're going to get a lot of blacked out silhouette. And then if you paint from that, you think, well, I'll just blacken everything. And I'm sure there's some good paintings like that. I want to show a little bit of light, because the human eye, you know, it could, when you're there at the scene, you can see a little bit. It's captures a lot more than the camera will. And so, and then I'm going to cheat it a little more light, almost as if it was wrapping around a little bit, which it doesn't really, but it's artistic license. It's your world, you know. You can, it's the beauty. That's why painting's so therapeutic. You're the boss, you know, and so paint like a boss. And there's always, you know, there's one in every crowd. There's always a critic, but you don't have to listen to them. But also, you can if you want. Sometimes a critic has some good advice, so don't always reject everything right off the bat. Okay. Okay, so I've got a little of that gold undertone and a little bit of the barn red. And, you know, if there is a little bit of sun kind of hitting it, it would have kind of a golden light on it. Okay. And then up here, I think I'll finish with this. We're probably at 30 minutes. And I wanted to get most of this done, and then we'll finish it up. It's almost finished now. You see that looks pretty good. But I want to, I probably want to put a little bit of opaque on that. And I've taken pictures of these things since the 70s through the 80s. There used to be a lot more of them around than there are now. And there was always kind of like 4 different roofs. There was a green asphalt shingle that was all oxidized. There was a red that was all oxidized. There was just plain wood that was, kind of a mixture of browns and grays. And then one that was kind of one of my favorites, they would just come up and have a bad roof, and they'd just place big 4x8 sheets of sheet metal on it. And when those became awesome, they would start rusting through the years, and you'd get this awesome rust color on that. And let me just a lot of times I'll just keep them like an oxidized old red asphalt shingle. The little touches like the tail end of that roof back there, I want to bring that out. And a little bit of light. And these are just some of the little touches that we'll be finishing with. There'll be a lot of that, and that's where the time comes in. You know, it's hours of work. It's to really paint. So just a little. So you just wanted a little detail there, just for that to show up. And then along that eave, let me see if I can find my script brush. Yeah, for little. You need to get a script brush for little delicate lines. These script brushes, they really are pinpoint. Now right now it's spread out, but you just wet it down, you get a really fine point. And along the edge of these, and it's good to observe whatever you paint. Look at it. You might not know because you didn't really look at it. And a lot of my students that are new, and they come back from a vacation and they say, you know, you're right. I never really looked at things, and now that I'm doing art, I want to look at it and see how to paint that. And so look at things as you're new to art, or at any time. You know, it's what you're supposed to do. And okay, so this is just like if you want to do a little line, like maybe just kind of define a little bit the edge. See how it just and one thing I'm not doing, I don't want to define it by doing this, you know, this gigantic line. See how obnoxious that is? I want kind of a broken line. One of my students was talking about, we were working on an ocean beach scene, and the waves, you know, they're moving, and she said, well, I never knew my hand trimmers would come in so handy for art. And I just laughed, and I said, yeah, the one, if people say, oh, I can't draw a straight line, you know, the one thing you probably don't want in a landscape is a straight line. You want everything to move. When you look at a barn, you know, maybe it's not going to be straight. I mean, there's going to be roof shingles and, you know, settling, and it's just going to be all over the place. And so realism, there's realism in impressionism, is a lot of times it's broken lines. You know, you're breaking it up. And right here I can see how it just begins to define it a little more. And this ridge needs to be defined a little bit. Now we're also going to be working at it from the sky, but I'll just for now kind of close with this. You know, you don't really want a dark line there. You wouldn't. That's when there's a shadow, and you don't necessarily need a real light line. You just need this color right here, and maybe clean that up a bit. So let me mix up just a little bit of that rusty red color. It's a little too dark there, so you just add some white, and that's close enough. And I'm putting some water in it so it'll flow, kind of make it like kind of an ink consistency. And you know, when you want to clean something up, the script brush is great. And there's times that I want things very subtle and undefined, and there's times when I want it a little more defined. And so if you want to define it, you just do you know, you come back and real carefully, and okay, see how that's a little more defined now. And over here it's a little too lost over there too, but we'll do some more on that next week. But this is the main thing, is get most of this done today. And I need to put that little loft door up there, so we'll do that next week. So anyway, thanks for joining in. You know, I can't be all things to all people, so I care more about beginning students, so I go slow, and that's how I roll. And again, hopefully everyone can enjoy a snippet of it at least. But if it doesn't please you, then there are lots of other channels with different styles. So hope you find one of those. But I'm going to keep taking care of my students. Numero uno. And so anyway, we'll see you next time. And remember to subscribe and like, and appreciate that. And we'll see if we can get this to grow a little. So anyway, bye bye.